Minutes past 7, you are listening to Sabahul Muslim on Radio Islam International. So, the question we are asking you this morning, our listeners, as part of our interaction with you, the SMQ Sabahul Muslim question: what would your reaction be if your child approaches you and says, Abba, Ammi, Mum, Dad, whatever they call you, I'm not coping at school, or I'm not coping at madrasa, or whatever other studies they may have begun, tertiary education? How would you react? How did you react? And then the all important question: how should you react? Or how should you have reacted? Many of us may have found ourselves in a situation like this, or in a similar situation. And then, with the advantage and the benefit of hindsight, we can look back at it and then say, well, you know what? Maybe I didn't handle that all that well. I could have handled it differently. Or some of us uh, may know somebody else who was in a similar situation. Maybe you were the kid. You're thinking back a couple of years or many years, and you're thinking, well, I went up to my parents and I said this, and this is how they reacted, and this is how I think they should have reacted, and this is what I learned from it, and I'm going to try and do a little better as a parent. I want to just explain something as a broad principle, right? Every situation will have its specifics, but as a broad principle, like everything else in life, you must avoid either one of the two extremes. The one extreme is when you're totally indifferent. Your kid comes and says, Dad, I'm not managing at school. I don't want to do the subject in high grade. I want to do it in standard grade. I don't want to do these subjects. They're too difficult. I want to do, easier subjects. I don't want to. I can't. And you're like, yeah, okay, whatever. If you can't manage, you can't manage my son or my daughter. I'm not going to put pressure on you. No, that indifferent attitude is not correct. I think when it comes to the education of our children, and it comes to the careers of our children and the profession that they undertake, we can't be casual about it. We have to be, as parents, involved, informed, more than involved, informed. You need to know, okay, what's the issue here? What's the importance of this subject? What's the relevance of the subject? If my kid is saying they want to take up this particular career path, what are the pros and cons here? What is the skill set of my kid? What are the talents of my kid? What are the strengths and the weaknesses of my kid? Is this now a fit, or is it not a fit? You've got to chat extensively as a family, as husband and wife, then with the child, and then independently of the child. The discussions need to be substantive, not emotive. No, I want to do this. No, we don't want you to do that. No, I want you to do this. No, I don't want to do that. No, that's an emotional kind of discussion. It needs to be very substantive. It needs to be that, okay, what are the pros? What are the cons? Let's look at it from a very kind of informed perspective. Then there are certain things which, as a parent, must be non-negotiable. If your kid comes to you and says, "Well, Dad, I'm not managing school and madrasa and tuition and sports and this and that, so I think I'll drop madrasa." No, you got to be emphatic. Madrasa is most important because you are a Muslim first and foremost. You may have learned how to perform salah and read Quran and make wudu and perform ghusl, but that's not all about madrasa education. There's a lot more that you need to learn in order for you to live your life properly as a Muslim. So that has to be given priority. If anything else has to take a back seat, then so be it. No one is diminishing the importance of secular education. No one is saying that doing well in terms of your academics is not important, but not at the expense of madrasa education. Not that the kid says, Dad, I've got too much homework. Mom, I've got too much homework. I'm not going to go to the masjid for salah. I'll just read in my room. No. Whether you're writing matric exams or you're writing whatever other exams, that is a non-negotiable. So the one aspect is, to be indifferent, to be casual, to just allow them to get away with things. That's wrong. On the other hand, we should not be parents who go to the other extreme and put too much of pressure, right? Where we feel now we must live our dreams through our children. Maybe you wanted to become a doctor. Your parents didn't have the finance for it. Circumstances didn't allow. You needed to join your father in the shop after standard 8. You didn't even get to do matric. Now you think, my son must become a doctor. My daughter must become a teacher because I wanted to become a teacher. Don't make your children live your dreams. Don't live your dreams through your children. You need to know what are the strengths and what are the weaknesses of your child. You need to know what are their passions, what are their inclinations, what they like and what they don't like. Also, as parents, we must have an honest assessment of the skills and the abilities of our children. Every mother believes their son is the most handsome. Every father believes their daughter is the most pretty. Every mother or father will believe that their child can come out first in class and should get this and should do that. Ask teachers, they'll tell you. Our parents, will argue. How come my son is not the head boy? How come my daughter is not the head girl? How come this? How come that? Have an honest assessment. Don't sell them short, right? But at the same time, not every kid is meant to be bright at the things that we assume they need to be bright at. Everyone's talents are different. So don't put them under pressure to be something that they're not meant to be. If your kid is not an extrovert, not a public speaker, don't say, I want you now to take part in every speech contest and to win and to have the best speech and this and that. You try and get them to the point where they can communicate effectively. Of course, it's not that they must be so reclusive that they can't communicate. That's going to be a big hindrance in life. So have an honest assessment. Observe as parents, from a distance. Engage. Talk to the teachers. Teachers may see certain things that you don't see. Don't argue with the teachers. Don't presuppose. Don't go and tell the teachers how it's supposed to be. Speak to them. Tell them, what do you think? What are my son or my daughter's strengths and weaknesses? What do you think will be a good option for them in life? Don't make them feel pressure that they have to do something to enjoy any esteem or to enjoy any value in your eyes. That, my parents will only value me if I do this. Of course, the non-negotiables are non-negotiables, like I just explained, right? You can't be popular with your kids at the expense of deen. But when it comes to their career choices, you can't leave it totally to them. Some kids are so clueless, they'll start one degree, then drop out after 1 year, then start another, then drop out of 2 years and waste their parents' money and waste their time and just wander aimlessly in life. No, don't leave it totally to them, but don't totally dictate either. Be part of the process to try and help them. Don't put them under so much of pressure that they feel they just need to do things to please you. That will result in them then having developing resentment and detesting. I can remember, I think it was Andre Agassi. He wrote a book after a fairly successful tennis career. I think he won 8 majors, if I'm not mistaken. He made a lot of money. He became very famous. But after all of that, he said, I hated playing tennis. I hated playing tennis. It's not something I wanted to do in life. It was not my passion. Yes, I was relatively good at it. I was fairly successful. It set me up for the rest of my life. I made enough money so that I don't have to work again. But it was something my parents pressurized me to do. It was not something that I enjoyed. And the fact that he wrote about it and he made it public, after a successful tennis career, that should tell you how pressurized he felt. That's sports. Now imagine if in sports he retired at 30 somewhat, right? You put your child into a particular profession and then they're stuck in that profession for the rest of their lives. Or then they go and get the degree, 3 years or 4 years of effort, money, sacrifice, and then they don't end up pursuing it. They do something else. Doesn't make sense. Let's look at some of the messages that have come through. Sohail says, for me, the teacher told us, I actually cried because lots of people criticized the poor girl because she's very attached, but she's only in grade R. Luckily, just in front of my wife only, but alhamdulillah, she's improved in my humble opinion and doing well in madrasa. And then another listener says, my son left his engineering studies. You can imagine the devastation. I was so sure of him being the first in our family and hoping for a better life for him. Long story short, you get over it as a parent. Focus on their mental state and be supportive of their new endeavors. Support, 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 says that message. So this entire discussion is flowing from the question that your child approaches you, tells you that they are not coping with school or with madrasa or any other studies that they have begun. How should you react as a parent? That's the discussion that we're having this morning, and I've shared a few thoughts. You can WhatsApp us on 072 786 1548. Or you can email smr@radioislam.co.za, or you can communicate with us via the social media platforms. So coming up in a bit, as the clock strikes 16 past 7, we have our hadith for the morning. Then after 7:30, words with Maulana Waja, tafsir of Surah Al-Nahl. At 7:45, the ANC speaking out in defense of its premier in Gauteng, leader, The Premier is still David Makura, but the leader now. The chairperson is Paniaz Ali Sufi. In terms of the ding-dong between him and AfriForum and the Freedom Front Plus. In the third hour of the program, we speak to Scott Lucas, Pelosi's visit